Hey guys, so this video came about because of a t-shirt. This t-shirt specifically. I really had no idea what I wanted to talk about today until I pulled this particular shirt out of the drawer, and then it hit me. So this is a story about a Jeep, but also not about a Jeep. Stick with me here. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Rachel. Okay, a little backstory. All of my life, since I was a teenager, I wanted a Jeep. Not just any Jeep. I wanted a Wrangler. Well, initially it was a CJ7, the kind that makes you feel like you could take on a mountain, or at least a really sketchy dirt road off the highway in the middle of nowhere. Ever since I saw Daisy Duke's Jeep in Dukes of Hazzard and then Demi Moore's in St. Elmo's Fire, don't ask me why, that was what I wanted. I fell in love. I thought there could be nothing cooler than driving around with the doors and the top off, feeling that wind just blow all around you. I know, people either love or hate a Jeep. There is no in between. But that is not what we're talking about today. Anyway, I was always told that a Jeep was impractical and uncomfortable. My insurance would skyrocket and I would absolutely hate it. And I listened to people. So I didn't actually get one until life knocked me sideways. Cancer diagnosis number 1, bam, life detour. That was the moment I realized life is short. You wait and you wait and you put things off thinking you'll get to them someday. And then someday nearly runs out. So I bought the Jeep, finally, after wanting one my whole life. It felt a little like a line in the sand, a decision to start living, not waiting. At first, I never intended to take it off-road. I was just going to enjoy it, maybe look really cool driving around with the top and the doors off in the summertime. But then I found this online Jeep group, and I went on a charity ride. I met a few fellow Jeepers. I saw all of these modifications, and I was like, oh, I can do this and just be a really cool looking pavement princess. So I got a lift and bigger tires. Nothing else. Still, no plans to ever go off-road. Then, a few months later, some people online were talking about a day trip they were planning. I decided, what the hell? I'll go. I've got nothing else to do. Long story short, I didn't know any of these people other than seeing what they'd posted in this Jeep group. My husband was out of town on a fishing trip 4 or 5 hours away. I packed my then teenage kids into the Jeep and I drove to a truck stop at 5 o'clock in the morning in the middle of November. Then I followed these strangers to the middle of nowhere, deep into the woods, 5 hours away. And there, again, in the middle of nowhere, I let these people I did not know get under my Jeep and disconnect things and air down my tires. I had absolutely no clue what was happening or what I was doing. I had no tools, no equipment, no radio, no cell signal, and zero knowledge what I was doing. But these people were phenomenal. They were patient and kind and encouraging. Some of these people are still really dear friends of mine now. That day changed everything for me. I was absolutely hooked. The first time I told this story and saw the looks on people's faces, I was like, okay, when I say it out loud, it sounds pretty bad. Total strangers, my kids in tow, no cell service, and I let them just crawl under my Jeep. Trust me, I get it. This was a little bit outside my comfort zone. Okay, way outside my comfort zone, but I felt like I needed to do it. My husband, he knew I was going. He was just several hours the other direction. So technically I wasn't entirely reckless, just mildly unsupervised. I started a checklist of everything I needed for that Jeep to be safe off-road. When my husband came home, he was like, seriously, what the hell? And just when I thought I was getting a handle on things, somewhere in the middle of all that planning and prepping, life threw me another curveball. A pandemic and another cancer diagnosis. After that second diagnosis, one of my oldest, dearest friends sent me this shirt. It's kind of faded now. It's stained and broken down in, but it says, no road, no problem. See? No road, no problem. I loved it because it was a Jeep thing. I mean, come on. But then I read the letter she sent with it, and that is when it hit me. This wasn't just a cute shirt. It was a message, a whole philosophy, actually, one I hadn't realized I'd been living. She wrote that even though I thought that that journey was behind me and I was moving on, I had to deal with yet another detour. But she knew that I could handle any road that was put in front of me, even a non-existent one. She reminded me I've never exactly been the play it safe and stay between the lines type. I have always taken the road less traveled, if you will, even if it's not paved, even if it's not, strictly speaking, a road. Am I stubborn? Yes. Stupid? Occasionally. But she reminded me that I have never backed down. Ever. I get over it, whatever it might be. That was the point that I realized my road might be a little rockier than some, but it's a lot easier than others. And all I could do was get over it and try to find beauty in the journey. And that's kind of where it landed for me. Difficult roads can lead to beautiful destinations. And my Jeep, it's not just a vehicle. It's a whole metaphor from life. This is my Jeep, my adventure, my life. It's not my kids. It's not my husband's. I get asked that a lot, if it's his Jeep. And as he says, he is just the mechanic along for the ride. So let's talk about that metaphor. Off-roading is unpredictable. You don't get a perfect map. You get terrain, you get obstacles, you get mud and rock and sharp turns and drop-offs. And if you are up for it, you get the time of your life. There is no one telling you, hey, this way is 100% safe. You just go and you hope you choose the right path. Sometimes you get stuck. Sometimes you get a blowout in the middle of nowhere 10,000 feet up. Sometimes you take the hard line on purpose just to see if you can make it. Sometimes your spotter yells, "You're fine," right before you punch it and damn near flip yourself backward. Yeah, I did that. You have to be present, aware. You can't be zoning out and focusing on all the other bullshit. You're looking at what's right in front of you, every rock, every rut, and figuring out how to get through it. That's life, especially now. I didn't go back to my old road after my diagnosis. I couldn't. That path was gone. And honestly, it wasn't really working for me anyway. I had to find a new one, or crawl over boulders in low gear until I figured out where the hell I was going. And yeah, some of what I did was pretty dumb, but all of it was my decision. And eventually, it started to feel like freedom. That Jeep takes me places I'd never be able to go otherwise. Spots you can't always hike to. Places no regular car, could go. Twists and turns through the woods, in the mountains, up rocky ledges, through riverbeds, over dead trees. The kind of places that make your jaw drop. And then standing there, looking out at something wild and untouched, it is worth every bump, every slip, every moment that you wondered if you were going to get stuck. We didn't always wait for the road. We made it. Now, here's where I'm going to shift a little bit, because the world right now feels like we've all been kicked off the main road, like the pavement just ended. The political climate, the economy, climate change, social tension, the news cycle, the constant dread and arguments. It's chaos, and a lot of people are stuck in place waiting for someone to build a nice, safe road for them again. But what if no one does? What if we don't wait? What if we go anyway, even if it's messy, even if the path isn't clear or easy or smooth? There is this quote from Marcus Aurelius that says, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the obstacle is the path. Taoism has a different take. A path is made by walking it. No signs, no guarantees. You make the road just by moving. And Buddhism, again, it reminds us that expectation is the root of suffering. You want the road to be like it was? You're going to suffer. Let go of what it should be and deal with what is. And suddenly, you've got traction. Okay, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. I just started reading his stuff. Even Albert Camus, I hope that's right, who seemed about as sunny as an overcast Tuesday, said, "In the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer." And that makes me happy, for it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me there is something stronger, something better, pushing right back. So, you want to rebel? Be calm, be grounded, be joyful, and do it. You don't need a Jeep to live like this, although personally, I highly recommend it. You just need to stop waiting for the road to be smooth. It won't be. Hell, it might not even be there. But it might lead to something beautiful. Some of the best views I have ever seen were from roads that I had no business being on. Rock crawling trails in the middle of nowhere. No cell signal, no idea what was around the next corner. And then boom, this insane view that made the whole jarring, white-knuckle climb worth it. Life is like that, diagnoses, divorce, grief, burnout, layoffs, global instability, you name it. They knock you off the road and you think you're lost. But sometimes you're just somewhere new. And if you keep going, even if it's slow, even if it's low gear the whole way, you find something beautiful. Or maybe you become something beautiful. So, what's the moral of the story? Set your own path. The right one isn't always the safest one. It's not always going to be paved. Sometimes there's no road at all, just trees, rocks, mud, and maybe a faint idea of where you're headed. Maybe it's the right way, maybe it's the wrong way. Sometimes it's just your way. It's not stubbornness. It's a quiet refusal to let the world tell you who you're allowed to be. Like Buddha said, no one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. That's exactly what I'm doing, and you should too. Not the path someone else carved out, not the one that's socially acceptable or easy to explain to your friends and family. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be." It's a decision you make every single day. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That is Carl Jung, by the way. I think that's the point. It's not about being fearless. It's about being real, even when the road gets bumpy, especially when it does. Maybe the world feels a little like it's falling apart right now. I'm not here to argue with anybody about that, but I'm also not here to fold or to vanish, and I don't think you are either. So here's your reminder. You don't need a perfect map. You don't need to wait for a green light. You just need your own compass and maybe a winch and some really good tires. Honestly, you don't need a Jeep, but you do need guts, patience, a little sarcasm, along with a few good spotters and a strong cup of coffee. And if you're lucky, you have got a friend who will remind you exactly who you are. So, wherever you are right now, whether you're off-road by choice or because life shoved you there, I hope you remember, no road, no problem. Okay, I feel like I've rambled a little bit here. So if this felt like a bit of a detour, welcome to the theme. Life's messy. My stories are too. Thank you for watching and sticking with me. I really hope this all makes sense. As always, take care of you, and I will see you the next time. Bye-bye.